G'day traders, welcome to a wrap up of Monday the 6th of August. So daily charts I've just got up here. Today's trading action Monday, very slow day. We'll get into that, but you can see overall we're certainly making a bit of a run up to these highs. Back last Friday is when they had a real decent push to the upside, and they're approaching these swing high points up here. So these areas are the highest the market's been for a couple of years. And what happens, before we even talk about the time of year, because that can have an impact on how these markets react as well, but when we approach high areas like this, the market will automatically start to slow down. I'm just not sure what it is, but it's something to do with people's mental state as far as buying areas and making it go past higher highs. It just tends to slow the market down. Whereas when the market is selling off, as soon as you see a market have a pullback, you'll see automatically that there's an increase in volume, an increase in the pace that the market moves. So this position where we are on this daily chart alone is creating a slow market. Now, as you can see, just a 1 minute chart here, just scanning through the whole day, we pretty much just stuck within a couple of point range the whole day long. Very slow day, 3 power points hit. One of the slowest days that you're going to really ever see. So contributing to this is the fact that we're heading towards high highs. Also, we're just starting the US summer break, or all that Northern Hemisphere summer break, where all the European countries and American countries go on their holidays. So as a result, volume will start to decrease just for a couple of weeks. And some of the big guys, especially institution traders, once they start leaving the market for a couple of weeks, it will really slow it down. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be like this all week or for the next couple of weeks. And of course, Monday being the start of the week naturally can be a slower day anyway. So hopefully Tuesday the market will move along a little bit, but this was certainly a day where it just really relaxed some volume. When we look at the news announcements, not that you need news announcements to move the market. The market can obviously move on its own, but when we have really slow times like this, sometimes some major economic data can really spur a market along, and we haven't got anything like that until Thursday as well. So that might contribute to some slow markets, but we don't want to put this market in a box and say that it's not going to do anything. You just got to keep on turning up and waiting for your setups, and it's certainly a time that you can really start to learn more about yourself and about your trading method. There's no need to go out and make drastic changes, but there's certainly an opportunity to have different approaches to the market, certain ways of, you might decide in these quieter times, for example, this first hour of the day is a time really to try and take advantage of the market, knowing that it tends to really drop off during later on in the day. But you might just have a slightly different approach, or a few different tweaks to the system you can do just to make it more appropriate depending on the speed of the market, slow or fast markets. So just looking, on the 5 minute charts, it's obviously a very flat market. We had a 5 minute. It's probably considered more of a fade here because of the fact the moving average is slightly pointing down, but very sideways. I certainly wouldn't be looking to sell this opportunity here. Try to go down a few times until it gets down underneath sort of the 92 region. There's certainly some support there holding these markets up. So even though it looks a bit like a sell, I wouldn't be taking it as a sell or a buy. Really, it was really a difficult area to try and grasp the concept of what's going to happen. Through this area here, this might have been where I thought the markets might have tried to have a bit of a push to the downside. So we popped up here, made a high, pushed down, popped up here, and they can contain themselves, make a lower high, and then start breaking down and pushing pressure on these swing low areas. That's when they can get some momentum to the downside. That sort of setup works really well as far as a new trend. Obviously today it's a little bit different. Just lack of momentum, lack of drive from the markets is what eventually, I guess, made the area a little bit invalid. But you can see overall, end of this candle here was the actual setup as far as a new trend there, making lower highs, and eventually it did go a couple of points, but very hard to see that working in the current markets. So what's happened in this area here, if you can imagine, there's a box around this pre-market area, which is sort of acting as a top and a bottom to the market. So if we start getting underneath sideways, they might get some pressure down. If they start getting above it, they're going to get some pressure up. So if you can imagine, there's a bit of a support line there. You can see basically 93, the market's reacted to that. So we got above it, using it as support all the way through, kept holding above it till eventually we got those lower highs back through here, and that's where we got a little bit of a push down. That was probably the most exciting part of the day, but quite difficult to bear when it's just moving a couple of tick range like that, and not doing a lot, but sometimes that's what happens. And like I said, it's an opportunity to maybe learn a bit more about your trading system. But that's a wrap up for Monday, guys, and we'll be back on Tuesday and see what the market wants to do then.